I, 23F, stop relying on my husband, 25M, and I think it's making things worse. Advice? I'm sure you all have heard similar stories. My husband, despite multiple discussions over the past 2 years, never takes initiative in chores or anything in our lives. I'm constantly the one reminding him and asking him to do things, and when I don't, it doesn't get done. He told me he started hating me because of it about 6 months ago, so we both had an agreement that I will stop telling him what to do as long as he starts following up with his promises. I followed up on my end of the promise and he didn't within a few days. We agreed that since I wake up first to work out then make breakfast, he wakes up with our kid and takes her to daycare before work. After work, I pick up our kid and make dinner and manage the bedtime routine, and he cleans the kitchen while I do that. Every single day I walk out after bedtime to the kitchen not being touched. It's so disappointing and hurtful. Usually, I get upset at him and tell him that I really want the kitchen cleaned every day, and he just brushes me off saying he will do it the morning. 25% of the time he does. But since we had the agreement, I stopped. I just pretended to ignore the mess and would get ready for bed because by then I would have to get up in 7 hours. I let him be responsible for the mess because that's what we agreed on. 2 months later and our kitchen was always a mess. Constantly, we would have molded food on the stove, next to the sink, crumbs everywhere on the floor. So I gave up and started cleaning whenever I had time. I learned to cook and clean at the same time. Stressful with a child, but I learned. Most of the time, there were a week worth of dishes and we have no dishwasher, so it took me a long time to catch up on washing the dishes. After bedtime, usually I'd be the only one cleaning. He would be laying in bed even though I wake up 2 hours before he does. He would literally yell at me about how I let the dishes get so stinky whenever he did wash the dishes, even though he agreed that he's responsible for cleaning after dinner. So I stopped relying on him and just started taking care of everything on my own. It's been 2 months of that mindset and I find it harder to respect him now. He seems like a child to me. Always complaining about everything and never puts effort. Always too tired and grumpy. Today, I was very excited because my husband brought up the idea of a movie night date. He never brings up date ideas or plans them, so it made me so hopeful. He said he would rent a movie and after bedtime we would watch it. I made a fancier dinner and put our kid down. Kid took a little longer to go down, but I was fine with it because I figured he would clean today so he can have a movie night. I was wrong. He didn't even bother to close the lids on the pans on the stove. He just turned off the lights in the kitchen. It felt like my heart broke and I cleaned the kitchen myself again. He walked out, didn't say a word and watched YouTube videos at the counter. Once I was done cleaning, we went to the bedroom and he just laid down and went to sleep. It hurts so much. I was so hopeful this time. He gets mad at me that I don't treat him like a man, but he never shows me he's reliable. I'm always hurt by his actions. Anyway, any advice on what I should do? At this point you should ask yourself, would your life be easier without him in it? He got what he wanted. He didn't want chores. You're doing them now for him. He gets mad at me that I don't treat him like a man, but he never shows me he's reliable. Well, it does come back to this, doesn't it? He wants to be treated like a man, but is he giving you any reason to do so? Aren't you being forced to be the adult, the parent, in this relationship? Don't you have to ride him like you're his mother and he is a lazy teen unwilling to contribute to the house? You need an adult partner contributing to the house equally. You need support, someone you can rely on. He told me he started hating me because of it. But this is pathetic. This is him failing and resenting you for it. He takes his own sheepishness out on you and that isn't fair in the slightest. This is the reason for 80% of divorce nowadays. He won't change, trust me. Even after you leave, which you should. The thing that kills marriages is contempt, and what he is displaying for you is contempt. He literally treats you like a maid. You do all the chores and he shouts at you if they're not to his satisfaction. He literally told you that he hates you because you ask him to do his fair share. He doesn't care that you're doing all the work. He feels you ought to do all the work. That's what you're for. My view is, you should indeed treat him like a man, and specifically, you should judge him as a man. Our basic expectation of a man is that he should shoulder his responsibilities, keep his promises, and support his family. He has comprehensively failed to do those things, and you should hold him accountable for it. Wouldn't life be easier if you only had one child to clean up after? Willful incompetence, you played right into it and stopped asking and took over. Treat him like a man? I don't understand how these men act like this. Show no love towards their significant other or respect and want you to FXCK their brains out after doing not a GD thing in the house all day. You getting excited for something so simple as movie night is pretty sad and pathetic, and he couldn't even give you that. You don't have one kid, you have two. How long before the resentment starts setting in and you start looking elsewhere or you find out he already is? I, F26, just found Grindr on my 22M boyfriend's phone. I'm a 26F and he's a 22M, and I always had an inkling there was a flare there. I used to say all the time when I was younger that I wanted a gay boyfriend. Not my literal manifestation coming true. Now I actually have one and I'm not as happy as I thought. FYI, he lets me play Monopoly on his phone, and I went to the App Store to find it and I saw that he recently downloaded Grindr. I don't go through his phone for my own mental sake. And I just so happened to stumble upon that. He's a coal miner who works an hour and a half in the next state over. He's always working overtime, and by Wednesday he already has 40+ hours logged. And he decides to double and sleep in his truck. Whatever you say, baby, but it's like he never has the money to do anything. Is he even actually working, or something far out of my control? I'm not upset with him for possibly being gay. I'm more upset that he's sneaking around and cheating. So, yeah, any advice on what to do next? He downloaded a dating app while he is dating you. While your support for his possible orientation is sweet, it's still cheating. The app is frequently used for gay men date or to connect and meet for casual sex. I assume he is likely using the app for these purposes, or, at the very least, he is struggling with his sexual orientation. Either way, it sounds like it is time for you to have a talk with your boyfriend. He's working overtime, all right. Yeah, I would be worried and get tested first. I mean, you have to bring it up to him. I'm not sure there's really any other paths forward. What to do next? Leave. Do I stay with my boyfriend, 58M? After he suddenly is concerned about my 50F health. I'm still processing this several days later and trying to decide if, after a pretty great 14 months of dating, I should break up with him. Joe and I met on a dating site. I thought he was a catfish at first because he retired young and is widowed, but no, he's real, local, and while he's a little older than I usually date, he's fun and very attentive, is proactive about planning dates, super thoughtful, and very affectionate. We typically go hiking on the weekend. Being retired, he hikes every day and is in great shape. I work a 4-10 schedule and do a lot of volunteer work. I don't exercise regularly and what my friends have said is curvy. This weekend, during our hike, Joe started getting ahead of me. After a while, I noticed that he had his phone up to his ear. I thought he must have gotten a phone call and didn't realize he was getting ahead of me. But he just kept going until he got to the top and sat on a bench to wait for me. When I got to the top, I jokingly asked if the slow girl could join him. I guess that was kind of rude, he commented. Then said, "Are you ready for a frank discussion?" He proceeded to tell me that now that my kids, 22M, 20M, 18M, were all away at college, I needed to spend more time focused on my health. He never said weight, always health. When we first started dating, I thought that being in a relationship would motivate you to get healthy. I need my girlfriend, you, to be healthy. You would feel so much better about yourself if you were healthier. I asked him if he had intentionally left me behind and he said he was just walking at his normal pace. I was slow. I asked if he had been on a phone call. No, was listening to music because he was bored. He's not wrong, I do want to lose weight. But I also work a lot, am menopausal, and have a lot of responsibilities. The relationship has been pretty good. I hate to end it over this, but I'm having a hard time getting past the idea that this has clearly been an issue since the beginning. I'm actually a few pounds lighter than when we met. And I've been thinking he loves me as I am. My ex-husband regularly insulted me about my weight when I was much healthier than I am now. I've been separated and divorced for 14 years, and this is only the second and longest LTR I've been in since my divorce. Do I walk away and free him up to find someone more to his liking? I would tell him that you agree that you need to spend more time focusing on you, and given your busy schedule something else has to give to make time for that, and that you are choosing to give up your time with him to focus more on you. Everything about his frank discussion just drips with contempt, in my opinion. First he walked fast to rub it in that you're not as fit as him. Then he pointed out that he was bored while with you. Why? Can't he take a break in his all-encompassing fitness routine to spend time with his girlfriend? Look, as someone who was in that situation once, this isn't going to work. You're never going to be healthy enough for him. He did this in a way to teach you a lesson. That's the bottom line for me. Doesn't matter that it was about your body, your health. I don't care what the argument is. He wanted to take you down a peg with this, and that's fucked up enough to walk. I wouldn't stay with someone who treated me that way. Just to reframe this conversation doesn't indicate that he doesn't love you as you are. I think it indicates that he is a controlling prick who thinks he can manipulate you into losing weight. He may love you because he believes you are the type of woman who can be manipulated and molded easily. I say this to point out that even if he does love you as you are, he's still a condescending asshole, and you should see his love as worthless. Break up with him, and don't be nice about it. Any man who marches way ahead of you and leaves you behind is a major red flag. I'd break up. I want to break up with my 21F boyfriend, 22M, of 3 years. But I don't know how can I do that. I'm in a long-term relationship with my boyfriend, and initially, we had plans to continue our lives together after college. However, over time, I've realized that I'm no longer comfortable with him. I feel like I've changed, and my priorities have shifted, but he seems to be stuck on the future we once planned. I'm now feeling emotionally drained, and staying in this relationship doesn't feel right to me anymore. I've tried bringing this up with him, but each time, it's either led to arguments or him dismissing my concerns. It's making me feel trapped, and I need to find a way out. I've already tried having a conversation with him about wanting to break up, but he keeps finding ways to convince me to stay. He'll say things like, "We've been together for so long," or "We can work through this," but I know deep down that it's not what I want anymore. After these conversations, I feel guilty, and I end up staying, even though I'm unhappy. I'm not sure how to make it clear that this relationship is no longer right for me without it turning into another guilt trip or argument. I'm looking for advice on how to break up with him in a way that's clear and final. I don't want to hurt him, but I also need to prioritize my own feelings. I'm worried about how he'll react and how I can handle it if he tries to convince me otherwise again. I also want to make sure I'm setting firm boundaries afterward, so we don't get stuck in this loop of, maybe we can fix things. How can I approach this in a way that's respectful but also ensures that I'm taking care of myself? Breaking up isn't a conversation, it's a statement. Make the statement, then walk and block. Tell him that it's over out of respect for him. He should not be in a relationship with someone who wants out, and you should not be trapped. Just say, statements and be firm about it. No one can let you out but you. Don't get trapped and do what you need in your life. YOLO, right? It's a relationship, not a subpoena. He doesn't care about what you want, so you don't have to worry about hurting him. You want to end the relationship, and he wants to cling to some fantasy he has of the future that you have grown out of. It's also possible that he thinks it's less work to manipulate you than it is to find a new girlfriend who will put up with his crap, or he gets his jollies manipulating you into staying. All of this is at your expense. Tell him it's over, and promptly block. Tell your friends it's over and enlist their help as backup for when he tries to regain his hostage, you. Then go live your best life. Stop opening it up for discussion. Just tell him, I no longer want to be here. I am breaking up with you, then leave. I've outgrown this relationship. I don't want to hear any arguments on making it work because I'm done and you've successfully kept me from breaking up with you for months now. I've given this every chance I can and I'm just done. I didn't want to be so blunt with you, but it seems to be the only way to do this. So have a wonderful life. I hope you find someone who will be your soulmate, but it's not me. I think you answered your own question. Everything you wrote serves as a great template for the final conversation. Just don't let him lead you into the weeds on elaborating how you've changed, how he makes you feel uncomfortable, etc., as he'll try to make promises to be different that don't matter at this point. Be clear and definitive. You've tried to stick around but you're unhappy and there's nothing he can say or do differently that's going to sway the decision.